You know, a lot of people don't understand that midwives in this day and age, I don't know if they're doing their job. To be honest, I feel like they're just glorified nurses. Just hear me out here, okay? I'll share 5 different instances that make me question if we have midwives like we think about them or we used to think about them, or if it's just me. So, when I was pregnant with my first baby, these are issues that happened that made me really question. So, I never would ever, if I ever were to get pregnant again, even consider it. I didn't consider it with baby 2 or baby 3. This is what happened. So, with my first pregnancy, I found out I was pregnant around 11 weeks. When I went and got an ultrasound, I confirmed that I was pregnant. And so after we hit that information, we decided this is our first child. What are we going to do? So we decided to go and now look. I've always been more on the more natural path. So my focus was, how do I find myself somebody that would be able to support my birth vision, you know? So I went ahead and looked for a midwife. The hospital where we got this ultrasound done, I told them that I was looking into getting a midwife instead of, say, getting an OB. So they connect me with the midwifery. That's red flag number one. They have a midwifery department within the hospital. If they're with the hospital, maybe I should have second guessed it. Anyway, I went ahead and made an appointment. I went to see the midwife. I went there and she goes, you know, gives me a long list of tests I need to do. Remember, I'm pregnant for the first time at 39. So now she's listing all of my risks. That's ding, 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 number 2. Yeah? Because I'm thinking to myself, you're a midwife. You're supposed to support the natural path. Trust that my body knows what it's doing. If my body can get pregnant, then my body should be able to carry this pregnancy. And then she goes, we have 8 midwives in this practice. You don't know who you're going to get at your birth. When you come into labor, whoever happens to be at the hospital is going to be your midwife. I didn't like that. I'm like, nope, I don't want that. I don't want to do all these tests. And then you're giving me a whole list of all of my risk factors. And then lastly, you're telling me I don't have any one person that will go through the pregnancy with me. So I left. I said, nope, I'm not doing that. That's one. I went to look for another. I had interviewed another midwife with my husband, and we just didn't have a connection. She was very risk averse. She was just pretty much saying, if there's any little risk through this pregnancy, she transfers you to the hospital. She doesn't want to have to deal with anything impacting her license. I'm like, okay. So that's number 2. We didn't take her. Number 3, we got her. She was amazing. At least she came off amazing in the beginning. Everything sounded good. Sounded like, this is what we wanted to do. And, well, what happened then was everything was going well. Hold on, my baby's crying. All right, sorry about that. So everything was going well until by week 14, I think, or 15, I started having a lot of cramps. At this point, I had no idea I had fibroids. I started having a lot of cramps. I didn't know what was going on. And then I remember I would feel my belly, and then I feel this lump. And I'm thinking, how did I end up with this baby's head this big already? I'll feel this lump. But then I went to her. I said, listen, I don't know what's going on, but I feel something. So then she palpates my tummy and she goes, I think you may be having twins. I'm like, twins? She's like, yeah, because I don't know what this is. It feels like there's another head here. And then, I don't know, because mind you, I'm still very early, so you shouldn't really be feeling a head, at least from my clinical background. I didn't think you can feel a head yet at that early stage, but I'm cramping really bad, you know. I don't know what was going on. And then she says, try magnesium salt baths. I guess that was the best thing she did for me because I started doing those and they would help relax me, they'll relax my uterus so I didn't have a lot of the cramping. But by the third week, me telling her that the pain hasn't gone away, she's like, well, I don't know what's going on with you. I'm not sure what the problem is. I don't think I can continue with this, monitoring you through this pregnancy. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to drop you. I'm like, drop me? Now I'm, 16, 17 weeks pregnant. I was like, oh, great. Okay. So she drops me. And then I went and found another midwife. But this time around, it's a practice. It's not a singular person. Again, they showed us around. We had an interview. They had a beautiful space. Everything looked good. During that interim, I'm not really sure. I think I went back to the doctor and had it checked because, yes, she told me I needed to go back to the hospital and go get it checked because she's not sure. She thinks I have twins. And I'm like, I don't think I have twins. You shouldn't be feeling a baby's head. So when I went back to the hospital and had it checked, they told me I had fibroid. And they're like, oh, the fibroid is about 5%. Oh, 5 centimeters, excuse me. Like 5 centimeters. I didn't even know what that meant. 5 centimeters, is that small? Is that big? They say, oh, it's like the size of a golf ball. But it's not that big a deal. Most times during the pregnancy, it might shrink or it might get bigger, but it's still very small, so don't worry about it. So that's kind of how the doctors, they were very nonchalant about it. It's not a big deal. Just go on living your life. It's not going to bother you. Well, fine. I go back, I tell her that I had a fibroid. She goes, okay, I'm going to let you go. I can't do this. You're high risk. I said, okay. So I left. So now I'm looking for this new midwife because remember, these doctors made it sound like it's not a big deal, it's not that big, it's not that serious, it's not going to affect your pregnancy or delivery. So I go looking for another midwife. So this time around I found this practice. So it wasn't a singular person either, but I believe it was two midwives that run this little clinic. Very nice and sweet. They had spaces for babies. We had a great interview. Everything went well. Everything sounded good until I told her, oh yeah, I just found out I had a fibroid. And they said they can't take me. So then that's that. Like I couldn't get that midwife. Oh, so I left them alone. So now I got to midwife number 5, right? So if you're counting with me, this is the last one. I got this midwife. She says, I would love to work with you. I paid her the deposit. Everything was well. But she's the one that, though she doesn't work with a hospital, she's the one I ended up delivering with, or should I say through, because she does work with a doctor. She's not, she's not going to let me deliver if she feels like things are not going well. She would transfer me to an OB. And I've shared this story before. So she did end up transferring me to an OB. And this was when I got past 42 weeks. And she kept saying I needed to just have a C-section. And I was telling her I didn't want to have a C-section. I just want to wait for my water to break naturally. Every child is different and every pregnancy is different. And I will let you know, mamas, never just take this. When they say you are supposed to have a baby at 40 weeks, gestation period for each child is different. Every experience, your hormones, your diet, all of these things, your stress level impact your own pregnancy. And what affects your pregnancy might not affect my pregnancy. So we are not going to cook these babies at the same rate, essentially. Some kids need a little bit more time to cook. In my case, as far as I'm concerned, with all 3 babies, I've had my babies later. And I believe it's because I have fibroids. My fibroids are competing with my babies for my nutrients because these fibroids, they grow with each pregnancy. So at this point, they did grow. I had, you know, I felt like I had two babies, but I only had one. Um, and when I got past the 42 weeks, she started threatening me. She started fighting me. She started telling me she can't do this. I'm going to kill my baby. It's not going to work out. This, that, and the other. And then she finally transferred me to the OB. And, very long story short, I ended up with a cesarean. And again, when I had baby number 2 and baby number 3, I didn't go through any midwives. Baby 3, I had a doula, which was a better experience than not having anybody at all. Baby 2, I had nothing. I just did this all on my own because I was just so tired. And I was telling myself, what's the point of having the midwife? I knew I didn't want to go through the conventional route because of my age and my health factors. I know, especially because I've already had a cesarean with the first child, they would automatically put me through for C-section the second time. And I didn't want to have a C-section again. So I tried my best to avoid anything that would lead to a cesarean for me. Okay, so I chose this route of unassisted because I wanted limited medical intervention. I didn't want to have to go through it if I don't have to. The second child, I did end up having the baby at the hospital, and I shared my story. You can look through my video. I can link that video with this one, which I talked about what my experience was with my transfer or with me ending up going to the hospital to deliver my second baby. But my whole pregnancy was unassisted, and it was the best experience for me. I didn't have any fears because I didn't have people in my head. So even though I chose to go with a midwife, I didn't want to go through the doctors because I did not want them to instill a lot of fear in me. The midwives also kept me in fear the whole time. My first pregnancy was so stressful because it was a constant, this problem and this problem. And then I felt so dejected because each way I go, like the midwives were just firing me, if you will. Like, oh yeah, you're not a candidate, you're not a candidate, you're not a candidate, you're not a candidate. And I'm like, but why is this a whole essence of me going through you is to avoid all of this, to avoid being told consistently that somehow something is wrong with me because of all these list of reasons. And yet there was no difference. Like, I was constantly barraged, and I still ended up in the hospital giving birth anyway through a C-section, which was what I knew would happen if I went through the direct route that I was trying to avoid. So what has been your experience with midwives? Because I think, in my opinion, again, only my own experience, I feel like the midwives are wonderful. If you are 25, 21, 22, you have no risk factors, you've never had any cesarean or any problems in the past, they know this baby is going to come and just glide out with no problems, then they will take you. But if they think there's going to be any slight chance that they would have to work a little harder, they don't want to have anything to do with you. What's the point of having a midwife if her job is only to make life easiest for her? And then it just boils down to, oh, I don't want to put my license on the line. And that's what I have an issue with. That's what I have an issue with the doctors, and that's what I have an issue with the midwives. They're not willing to allow you to trust your body. Like, they keep telling you your body is malfunctioned. When you're older and you're having a kid, they keep telling you your body is not functioning well. And that's not the case. That's not the truth. You are equally capable of birthing a normal, healthy, natural baby. You are capable, and you can do it. But you have to trust yourself, because if you trust any of these systems, they will mess with your mind. And that's what they did to me. So I don't see much difference between a midwife and a nurse when it comes to going through the whole pregnancy experience. Share your story with me and also with other women. Did you have a similar experience with me, or did you have your babies when you were younger and it was amazing? Or did you find that sometimes the midwives just they go with the medical system, like they're very medical instead of more on the holistic side? Thank you. If you made it to the end of this video, please comment, like, and subscribe to my channel. Keep on thriving.